think I'm live. Figured I'd do this way instead of doing a quick stream or quick video. Do a live stream and do a kind of live edit of some photos I've been working on. Got a relatively new camera. I've been taking a lot of pictures with this lovely thing, which is the Leica Q2. And yeah, been having a lot of fun with this. So gonna edit some photos and kind of talk about where I've been the last couple months and kind of moving forward what my hopes and ideas are for the channel. And let's dive into it with some edits. So let's see here. We got, first up, I have a lovely ZMF Caldera with the Eddy Current Black Widow, and I took this with the Q2, and actually all these photos will be with the Leica Q2. And I'm just going to kind of go over how I edit my photos. And tonight I'm imbibing a White Russian, but this one is unique because I grabbed some cream, but the cream is basically pumpkin spice cream, so it's a pumpkin spice White Russian. And it's stupid candy. It's dessert in a glass. Ooh, a little much, but it's good, tasty. So anyways, start with this one. Do a couple of these. I have some other ones I can throw up that are not, headphones or audio related. And we'll get to those in a little bit. But anyway, so first off, I tend to like to have my photos be a little bit on the darker side, I guess, or more of that warm vibe, kind of dark vibe kind of look. And sometimes I'll hit auto just to see what happens. Usually I don't like it like this right now. It's overly bright, so I'll go back and undo those settings, and from here we'll go look kind of different settings, go look at the exposure, contrast, and we'll kind of go from top to bottom with how I edit. And I'm not a professional. Well, I guess technically I'd be considered a professional. I've gotten paid for my photo work and what have you, but I'm a self-taught photographer, so all of this is just me learning over time and what I like and what I think looks best to my eye, and that's how I do photography. And each photo is unique. I try to do it uniquely that way, unless it's in a series. Like, so this one, these are all roughly the same lighting, and it's just different scenes of the same thing. And so what I'll do is sometimes I'll just start with the first one, edit it the best way possible, then I'll just copy paste the settings to each one, and then find the one I like the best and kind of finalize edit in there. So anyways, so that's how I kind of go through my photo editing process, and I'll get into that. And so what I've been up to the past couple months was about 2 months ago, we almost moved to Korea. So we were supposed to be in Korea now, South Korea. And so what had happened was job opportunities came up and were taken. And then in the middle of that, some red flags kind of showed up and what have you, and we decided maybe that wasn't the best choice. And so halfway through packing the house and getting ready and getting everything ready to go, about a couple weeks back, we decided that this was probably not the best choice. And it was fortuitous because then another job opportunity came along for the wife, and it was just a much better fit for her. And we ended up now staying more or less here in the States, but probably going to be moving in the next couple months to another state potentially, or staying local but just moving to a different house. But so yeah, that's been a little chaotic, and trying to get that all situated and figured out and getting back into a routine, and still packing up stuff, still fixing the house up for rent and all this other fun stuff. But that's kind of why I've been kind of off the video stream schedule for a while now, and kind of doing more live streams. And that's something I actually want to do more of. I want to do more interview stuff, I guess. I want to get more people on and chat with them about what they're passionate about, and not just audio related, but like any hobby, anything like art, photography, music making, artists in the music world, any of that kind of stuff, not just headphones or audiophile or audio related stuff, but even into woodworkers or people that make coffee. I don't know, anything. Like, I think it's just fun chatting with people like that have a passion for something, and kind of getting to know them. And another thing I really enjoy is I like talking to people that make things. So like Zach from ZMF, for instance. I love chatting with them, him and Bevan especially. But I also want to just chat with them, like, just have a good talk. And it doesn't have to be about their headphones. It could just be about them, and like, just like, what are they up to? What's their lives like? What are they into? I think that's more exciting for me, to get to know the people behind the products that I love, right? Like, because then it builds a better connection to why I like their stuff, or like, and that goes for anything. So that's something I want to kind of try and dive into. I just need to get people to jump on and scheduled and kind of go from there. But that's something I'm trying to kind of get the ball rolling on. Also have some other stuff, some wood in the fire, I guess you could say, on some other projects. And so hopefully those all kind of pan out and are fun and enjoyable to kind of continue down. And hopefully I can get those announced here in the next couple weeks, next couple months. But anyway, so that's part of the reason why I've been kind of absent. But let's get into some photo editing. And speaking of photo editing, this is something I kind of want to dive into more as well, is kind of do more like photo related stuff, because that's something I'm passionate about. Like, I love taking photos. I think photos and photography is fantastic. It's such a like stress reliever for me. It's such a fun way to go out and just kind of find the beauty in every day, right? And just taking a picture of that, and then once you get that picture, editing it to the way you feel it should look, or finding your art in that photo by editing it with software. It doesn't have to be Lightroom, it could be anything. But anyways, this is what kind of my process of woosahing is, taking photos and editing them. So going into it, I'm not a big fan of highlights. I tend to bring these down a lot. But this is already a dark photo, so it's only a little bit there. Exposure, I think, is generally pretty good. In contrast, I like a little more contrast in mine, so just a tap up on that one. Shadows, it's a dark photo, so we could bring the shadows out to get more detail, but you're also going to see a lot more grain in those kind of crushed blacks, or it's already a dark photo, so if you up the shadows, what's going to happen is you're going to get more grain or what have you into the dark regions, the blacks. So probably going to bring that back down to where the grain's not too prevalent, bring the whites up a little bit, and I can bring the blacks down, and that makes it super, you can show you, like, goes, whoa, super gnarly, not the cleanest, prettiest picture, but you can bring them up, and it's almost like playing with the shadows, where you bring the shadows up too much. So bring it down a little bit, but not too much. So let's see, I think I liked right about there. But with that, if you look at this little part on my little desk mat here, it's not true to color. The oranges look kind of little, it's a copper colored mat, and it looks kind of too dark, but we'll get to that in the next part. So then I kind of just scroll down, and you have your texture, clarity, dehaze, vibrance, and saturation. Let me make sure you guys can actually see this. Yeah, okay. And so from here, what I'll do is I'm usually kind of a fan of texture, and I'm a big fan of clarity. And dehaze is you can mess with this. You can either go to the left and see, it gets that more dreamy, kind of like dreamy, almost what's that? The Days of Our Lives look, midday soap opera look. Or you go the other way and it gets real contrasty and real dark and like kind of cool. I like to go dark with the dehaze, but you have that option to kind of go either way. But I'll just do a little bit there. Just gets a little more punch, a little more contrast there. And then another trick I like to play with is I like to up the vibrance, but then bring the saturation down. And not to where it looks gray and dull and super crazy, but just enough to where you get the color, but you're not getting it like blam in your face, right? And so tone curve is another big one, and this is a good way to build or to show contrast, another way to kind of get some more depth of contrast there. And they call it the S curve. You kind of bring down the darks a little bit more, and then you bring the highs up, and you don't have to do a lot, it's just a little tap. And then you can mess with the mid-range to kind of either darken the picture or brighten it up. And so I think that looks a little bit better with the brightness. Makes this KEF speaker, the little part of the KEF speaker, a little brighter, a little wider, but looks good. I think that's pretty solid. And so from there, actually, let's go. I'm gonna kind of crop this, maybe see if we can let's see if we can straighten it up a little bit. And let's try a 4x5. Kind of bring this over. We don't also want to. Yeah, I think that looks That looks pretty decent. Let's try that. Kind of brought it back in. Kind of regret having my Yeti mug there, but later photos are a little bit better. I don't have that Yeti mug there. Yeah, I think that's a good jump off point for that. And then what I'd do is after the curves, you got your HSL, which is your hue, saturation, and luminance. And I'm not the best with this stuff yet, but I tend to, I'll play around with it a lot. Like, so for instance, looks like we have a lot of oranges. And there's some red obviously here, but I think what we can do is see what happens if we luminance. We can play with that and get it kind of going. But saturation is another fun one, which we're all like, you bring the saturation, see if you bring the red down too much, it's not that pretty. The thing that's kind of bothering me is that copper there. But once again, this photo's, I don't think, my favorite photo, so let's take what we already have and we will go ahead and copy the settings. Actually, I don't have to do this. We'll just paste these settings from the previous, so boom, and then see what that looks like. I'm kind of digging. Paste settings from previous. And so this picture I like a little bit better. And then kind of a different take on it. And we'll just go real quick and then see which photo I like the best. And then we'll edit that one fully and then get rid of the other ones. Let's see. Kind of digging. Digging that one a little bit, but I think that one's a little bit better. It's not as bright, so let's... Oh, what's happening here? And we will, delete from disk, remove that one, and then we're keeping this one. Oh, I think my keyboard's being a little bit laggy here. But let's see. Kind of dig that one, actually. Yeah, I kind of like that one the best. This one's too weird, so let's delete that one. And I'm looking at like the way that the angle of how I was looking, like when I took the picture, was I, how was I angling the camera down to take the photo, like the view of it, just the kind of aesthetic of the photo. Is it pleasing to me? And kind of going from there. But anyways, so yeah, as far as doing more of this stuff, I wouldn't mind trying to figure out how to do more kind of live stream chats or even just pre-recorded chats with folks. There's something I really want to do more of. I'm looking at doing a podcast maybe in the future with some other endeavors I'm working on. And I'd like to do more like photography, like maybe go out and figure out a way where I can record what I'm doing when I'm going out recording. And then I want to get into like street photography, but I don't know how I would pull that off. I might just have to do something like this where I go out, get a bunch of pictures, come back and chat and edit them and kind of go over what I'm doing. But the Caldera, man, this thing is fun. Loving it. Sorry, let me jump back in this chat. So as I'm editing, I only have the one screen, so everything's like I can't see the chat, so I'm being kind of bad here. Let me see here. What's up? Yes, photos. Maybe crop it. Yep. Yep. Thanks, Sleepy. Yeah, I'm trying to mess with it. So usually what I do, like I said in Sleepy, is I'll go through and I'll find the one I like. But initially, the first one, as long if it's in a series and it's the same lighting, I'll edit one. And then I can copy paste the settings I did for that first one into the others, and then I'll go through and find the one that I like the best, and then I'll edit. So as you're seeing, let's see here, Reese, yeah, the Caldera, man, that thing is a beautiful headphone. It does great things for photo taking. I mean, it's sorry, it's not the best light here. I have a little LED that's kind of bright and very warm. So, but yeah, this thing is a looker. But yeah, let's see. So how many CMS do I have in my house? Yeah, to open a candy shop. I have currently, what's up, Jay? I got the Atriums are mine. I have Verite opens. I have Verite closed. I have the Aeolus. I actually have two Verite opens. One's actually, I have a buddy checking it out right now. And then on demo, I have the Caldera right now. I had the classics in, when was I had those in last? Or actually, I still have them. They're in the box back here. But those are getting ready to go out to some other folks here in the near future. So, yeah, lots of ZMFs. I'm a fan. It's a thing. Don't ask me how many ZMF pads I have, because I have literally a box full of them. It's ridiculous. And the funny thing is most of them are like the Universe. I think I have a ton of Universe and a ton of the BE2 pads. It's crazy. But yeah, so let's see. Sorry, phone was ringing. Didn't have it on silent. Burgers and photos. There you go. Yeah, and maybe I wouldn't mind doing more of that stuff too. Talking more about food stuff. Try to do more blogs. Start a website. Do some blogs. Do some more photo centric stuff. Maybe a place to post it outside of like Instagram and Twitter and via Vero or whatever. But anyways, let's get back to. Let me see if I can pull this over here so I can see the chat while I edit. All right, so make sure that didn't break anything. Yeah, I think we're good. Anyhow, so photo I like the most. This one, see, this is the first one I started editing, and I don't really dig this because that Yeti cup's there, which I like the Yeti cup. Yeti cup's a fantastic cup. Matches the aesthetic of the Black Widow. It's pretty nice. Maybe we'll keep it. We'll keep it and maybe edit it another time. But right now, I'm digging on this photo as the final edit for this set. There's like 3 or 4 of them. And then I have these other ones over here, which kind of focus in on this Quicksilver amp. This is from the video I did most recently. And we'll get into the edits of these next. Actually, another fun thing. My mom sent this to me. That little purple thing in the background. This thing is dope. It's this might annoy some people, but it's kind of like a yoga thing or like a meditation. It does these, I don't know. It's super relaxing. Like, and my daughter comes in and she just goes nuts. She goes ham on this thing, but it's just cool and it's purple. Like my mom, she fantastic. Freaking knocked it out the park with that one. Great thing. It's like a little, little like steel drum kind of deal. Anyways, that's the thing in the background behind the atrium, if anybody was wondering. Let's see, ube and hi-fi. Yes, brother, let's do it. Gotta go to Hood Famous Bakery and Cafe and get some ube lattes and some ube snacks and treats. Let's see here. Oh, we got them for the CX6XX and 660s. I'm excited to try some of Zach's pads for other headphones. Like I'm waiting on another friend who's going to go. I think he's lending his focals to Zach to try with the new focal pads for ZMF that ZMF's putting out for focal headphones. And if he likes them for the Stellia, I'm thinking about ordering a set for the Stellia because I think the Stellia is a fun and it's a good little headphone. It's expensive, but I think the pads are they're really good. And the problem with the most focals is that if you get aftermarket pads for the focals, they tend to not sound like a focal anymore. They kind of break it a little bit, but I'm excited for it. I'm hoping that's a one that works. And I'm not overly sensitive to pad changes. Like I notice some, like on my HD800s, I have some Dakoni pads on there, like the Hybrid Elites, and I like them, and not many people do. And then I actually have been using these lately, which is the HD700s, and these have the perforated Dakoni pads. And then I have the ZMF Crescent strap. It's like this little... So it's a ZMF Crescent strap that they created to be on any headphone. And look at that. This thing is stupid. And this is already a comfortable headphone. Throw this on there and it's like butter. Excuse me. Whew. Had a giant burrito for lunch today. But these, to me, a lot of people hate on them. And these ones are modded. They have the little strips on the inside to help tame the highs and what have you. And then obviously the Dakoni pads. These are good. Like, these are really good for gaming, especially. Like, I love playing games with these, watching movies. And then with my little mods I've done to them, the music. I've been listening to music recently, and I was just like, dang, man, these are these are solid headphones. And then, granted, I've been using the Black Widow, the eddy current Black Widow, which helps. It's not, it's a pretty warm, solid state, and it's just curbs a lot of the problems a lot of people had with these. And at least for me, like I've been really digging on this set. Actually, I've been kind of rocking these for the past couple days for gaming and listening to music, and because they're already on my head, But yeah, I've been digging on those. I know it's not the most popular headphone in the world, but anyways, let's get back to editing this photo. So this is the one I'm kind of wanting to stick on. So let's go into like the HSL kind of look. So this one has the atrium on it, and actually let's look at the crop again, because I want to make sure that this kind of want my screen out of there, but I think something like that. But I also don't want to cut off anything overly awkwardly. I think that looks about. Let's go hit auto here. Yeah, that looks about right. So that looks a little bit more centered. And what you can do here, like I said, I'm not really digging this copper look down here, and we can isolate that, but let's try and see what happens by just messing with HSL first. So, oh yeah, suede pads are pretty stupid good. Yeah, in fact, on my Aeolus, I call it my cushy warm boy, and that one's all suede everything. I have the suede head strap, I have the suede pads, and that thing is it's like a giant. It's like putting a cloud on your head. So let's dive into this. Let's go luminance. I feel like the orange, is it the orange that's causing that a little bit? Hue. There. Yeah. And then sometimes what I like to do is I like to just desaturate everything. I think to me, like, sometimes colors are a little overdone. And especially for something like this where it's a little more moody, you kind of get this warmth. And it's a little, I have this light that's shining right on this, so it's getting this pretty brightness right here. So then what I'll do is I'll throw in, sorry, I usually edit on my MacBook, so I haven't had to reload Lightroom onto my PC to do this because I was lazy and I didn't want to put all my streaming software onto my MacBook, so I'm doing this from Windows. And also, a weird thing, I got an LG C2 panel for to replace my monitor with the OLED, and when I use my MacBook to edit with, it looks like hot garbage. Like, it looks bad. Like, really bad. So I need to figure out how to get that to where it needs to be so I can edit with it and use that as my main kind of streaming, and then move my PC stuff back to just purely gaming. But for the time being, my PC is my gaming and my streaming rig. So we'll see how that pans. But anyways, let's grab a mask. We want to do a radial. So what I'll do is I'll do this radial kind of like this, and then we want to make sure the feather is 100%. Let's see. Yeah, 100%. And then we just kind of bring this in, match it up on this, because when you edit, sometimes what happens is the brightness on one spot might be too high because the light was on that too much. And so from here, what I'll do is I'll just kind of bring down the exposure a little bit, and then contrast we can kind of bump up just to kind of get it to be a little better, and then highlights I just bring down a little bit more, and shadows we can let's see, right about, let's see where we like it. See, there's that weird dark spot in the middle which I don't like, so let's kind of bring that up. Bring the whites down, bring the blacks. I want to make it look natural. Oh, wow, texture was all jacked. That's probably why. Bring that up, and clarity up, since this is our thing that we are looking at the most. And then saturation, you can play with this. If you bring this up, see, like, it does this crazy stuff, or you can make it like black and white almost. But let's keep that natural. I think that's pretty good, but there's that weird blob there, which I'm not really digging on. So let's bring that down, and then highlights. Let's bring that back up. It's a little overblown, but it's better than having that kind of overly blobby look to it. Let's do that. Bring contrast down, exposure down. Let's see if we can get the highlights down a little bit more. Nope. Let's bring those back up. Anyways, so that's something I'd do like that. And then for the next thing, I'd probably do a linear. Bring this up. And so because the light's coming from this direction, what I like to do is I like to highlight where that light's coming from. And we'll just get a little more warmth because that's where the warmth is. And that should help correct the color of here. Yeah, see, it's already looking a little bit better. And then I will bring up the contrast because it's brighter. Bring down the highlights. Bring up the shadows. Bring down the whites. Bring down the blacks. And then let's up the saturation a little bit. And that looks pretty good. And then we'll do another one. And then with this one, what I'll do is, it's kind of weird, but here we go. So bring this in from the other direction. Actually, let's bring it kind of about there. And this one, we're just gonna kind of bring the temp down a little bit. Bring the exposure down a little bit. Bring the contrast down. Highlights down. And we can darken the shadows a little bit. Whites down. And blacks we can actually bring down a little bit, but without making it look that weird gray haze. And then we can bring the texture up and clarity up. And then we can bring the dehaze down a little bit. Bring up the saturation is always fun. All right, so that kind of gives you this kind of fun clash of colors, like where you get the warm and cool kind of hitting together. It makes it kind of look kind of fun. I don't know. Anyway, so that's more or less a quick and dirty version of how I would do that. And then saturation I kind of messed with already, but luminance we can, oh, right, haha, maybe that's what it was. That's what it was. I forgot I had messed with that. So that should help. Bring it up a little bit more. And then hue, orange. We don't want it yellow. We want it more red. Red, we want a little more orange. I think that's good. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. And then sometimes if you're feeling real froggy, I'll come over and I'll mess with like vignetting, and just to give the highlights of the photo, it helps kind of zoom you in on what you're looking at and how you want to, you know, what you're playing, like what the focus of the photo is, especially if it's centered. What vignetting does is it slowly adds shadow and it's kind of like an oval or circle around the photo. And you can kind of see it here. So here's none, then it goes light, and then medium, and then heavy. As you see, like the edging of the frame gets darker and darker, kind of like light. Medium's a little bit better, but I kind of like light. Anyways, so that's that photo. That's more or less how I'd rock it. All right, let's try that. Let's do that. Let's see here. Add a linear gradient from the top. So, and you're thinking, what are you thinking? I'm going to go with, this light's coming from this direction. Shadows are this direction. So I'm up here is kind of going to be, might just leave this, maybe make it a little bit cooler. Yeah. Because that would help make the whites pop a little bit more on the KEF speaker. And then I'd probably up the saturation and contrast. And then exposure we can bring down. And whites I want to bring up. Highlights we can probably bring down a little bit more, get a little more moody. And blacks we can crush them. It's already a pretty dark photo, so I'm already crushing the blacks pretty hard, but maybe about there. Bring the shadows. The shadows are going to be, I mean, you can do the same thing with shadows by darkening it that way, but I kind of want to leave those where they're at. Anyways, so that would be that. Let's see. There you go. So there's your kind of more, that just added kind of like a fun vignetting to the top and more of the sides. We're getting this kind of like dark with the light coming in. So very cool. Another thing I'll do is if I know where the light source is, I'll create a radial, and then we will make the feather a little bit lower, say about 25. And so I know the light, you can kind of see the light's kind of coming in from the the side there. And what I'll do is, if I know which direction it's at, which I do because I put the light there, I will go ahead and mess with this and bring this out. And then actually I need to kind of bring this out a little bit further so I can get full access of this. Just to kind of pull this out. Kind of went a little too far there, but so let's go about, let's get the light there. And this is what I'll do is I'll bring this up and bring this up even more with the warmth, and then exposure up, and then I'll contrast it, bring down the highlights a tiny bit till it looks kind of natural. Right about there. And then shadows will come up, whites will go down, because I'm weird, don't like too bright. And bring down the blacks, bring up the